Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into the absolute fundamentals of what makes you, well, you, and what makes a strawberry for that matter. We're talking about life's most essential ingredients, the four major biomolecules. So, to start, I want you to just picture your favorite food. Go ahead, think about it. Is it a big slice of pizza, a fresh salad, maybe some peanut butter on toast? Whatever it is, that food is so much more than just delicious. It's packed with the large molecules that are absolutely essential for life.
These amazing large molecules are called biomolecules, or you might hear the term macromolecules. And today, we're going to take a tour of the four main types that make up pretty much every living thing. We've got carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. Think of them as the ultimate building blocks for, the structure and function of every single cell.
Okay, but before we jump into each group, there's one super important idea we gotta get down, the monomer. The best way to think about it is like a single Lego brick. A monomer is just one small, repeating building block. And when you link a whole bunch of these monomers together, you build a much larger, more complex structure. And that's called a polymer. This idea, it is the key to understanding all four biomolecules.
First up, let's talk about carbohydrates. I know you've heard of these. Carbs. They're the body's go-to source for quick, easy-to-access energy. You can think of them as the high-octane fuel for your cells.
And where do we find them? Oh, in all the classics. Bread, pasta, fruits, vegetables. They're all loaded with carbohydrates. And there's a really good reason they're a huge part of most diets all around the world. So, what's the monomer for a carbohydrate? It's called a monosaccharide. That literally just means one sugar. And the absolute superstar of monosaccharides is glucose. Glucose is a huge deal because it's what our cells burn to create ATP, and ATP is basically the energy currency for all life. It's the little power packet that lets cells get stuff done.
And this is how they grow. You start with one block, that's your monosaccharide, link two of them together and now you've got a disaccharide, link a whole bunch of them together in a big chain, and you've built a polysaccharide, a giant carbohydrate. And hey, here's a little pro tip for you. A lot of sugars end with the letters OS, like glucose, fructose, and lactose. Kind of handy, right?
So get this, carbs aren't just a one-trick pony for fast energy. They're also used for energy storage. Plants store it as starch, and animals, including us, store it as glycogen. And they also play a massive structural role. The tough cell walls that give plants their structure, that's made of cellulose. The hard exoskeletons of insects, that's chitin. And yep, both of those are carbohydrates.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about our next group, lipids. Now, this is a super diverse group. It includes all kinds of things like fats, oils, and even steroids. They're all about long-term power, critical structures, and, you guessed it, storage.
Now, if there's one single feature that ties pretty much all lipids together, it's this. They are hydrophobic. It's just a fancy way of saying they are water-fearing. Unlike most of the other biomolecules we're talking about, lipids do not dissolve in water. You've seen this. Just think about oil and vinegar salad dressing. No matter how hard you shake it, they just don't mix.
You can find them in foods like butter and olive oil, of course. But they're also fundamental to biology itself. The blubber that keeps a seal warm is made of lipids. And maybe the most important job of all, every single one of your cells is surrounded by a membrane made of lipids.
And man, their job description is all over the place. Lipids are the body's long-term energy reserve. They build those super important cell membranes. They provide insulation, both for warmth, like blubber, and even for electrical signals in our nerve cells. And some of them, like steroids, act as powerful chemical messengers, or hormones. And even with all that diversity, most lipids are built from just two basic components, glycerol and fatty acids.
So let's do a quick compare and contrast on energy. Think of it like this. Carbohydrates are the cash you have in your wallet. It's fast, it's easy to access and spend. Lipids, on the other hand, are like your savings account. They store huge amounts of energy for the long term, ready to be used only when that fast cash runs out.
All right, let's move on to our third group, proteins. So if carbs are the fuel, then you got to think of proteins as the body's builders and its workers. I mean, these guys are the true workhorses of the cell, carrying out a totally staggering number of different jobs. And you already know where we get them. Foods like meat, beans, eggs, and nuts are all packed with protein. They provide the raw materials our bodies need to build and repair themselves, day in and day out. The monomer for a protein is an amino acid. And there are a bunch of different kinds. But here's the incredible part.
The specific order, the sequence that they're linked in, that is everything. That sequence determines exactly how the protein folds up into a complex 3D shape, and it's that unique shape that gives it its specific job. You change the sequence, you change the shape, and you totally change the function. It's that precise. And just look at the variety here. Proteins provide structure. They literally make up our muscles and our hair. They act as enzymes which speed up all the chemical reactions happening in our bodies. They work as tiny channels to move things across our cell membranes. And they even defend us. Those antibodies that fight off infections? Yep, they're proteins. They do pretty much everything.
And that brings us to our final, and you could argue our most foundational group, nucleic acids. These molecules are nothing less than the complete instruction manual for all of life.
Now you might be wondering, do I eat these? And the answer is a huge yes. Anytime you eat something that was once alive, a strawberry, a piece of chicken, a spinach leaf, you're eating its cells. And inside every one of those cells are nucleic acids, like its DNA.
The building block here is called a nucleotide. That's a pretty easy one to remember since it sounds just like nucleic acid. These little nucleotides link together to form those world-famous molecules you've definitely heard of, DNA and RNA.
Their function is all about information. That's it. DNA is the master blueprint. It stores all of the genetic information that makes an organism what it is. RNA is kind of like the project manager that reads the blueprint and then helps carry out all the instructions. Together, they code for our traits and direct every single activity that happens inside of a cell.
So there you have it. We've taken a quick tour of the 4 major biomolecules. It is just amazing to stop and think that all the incredible complexity of life boils down to these 4 groups of molecules, all built from just a handful of common elements.
And here's the basic pattern. There's a really popular little memory trick to remember the most common elements in each group. CHO, CHO, CHON, CHOP. It stands for carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. Carbohydrates and lipids, they're mostly just CHO. Proteins add nitrogen to the mix, CHON, and nucleic acids add phosphorus, CHOP. It's like a simple elemental recipe for life itself.
From just a few types of monomers and a few common elements, we get everything from a tiny bacterium to a giant blue whale. It's such a powerful idea. Simple patterns building magnificent complexity. So that leaves me with one last question for you to think about. What other simple rules can you spot creating the complex and beautiful world all around you? Stay curious.